They say hindsight is 20/20, but looking back at the 1990s feels less like looking at history and more like watching a home movie of a world that just vanished. It was a decade sandwiched between two massive turning points. It began with the fall of the Soviet Union and the crumbling of the Berlin Wall, and it effectively ended on a clear Tuesday morning in September 2001. But in between those bookends, America experienced a unique moment in time. Scholars called it the end of history. The Cold War was over. The economy was about to explode. The internet was moving from government labs to our living rooms. It was a time of baggy jeans, dial-up modems, and a strange sense of optimism that we haven't quite felt since. Welcome to the 1990s. Let's take a rewind. If you want to understand the 90s, you have to look at the screens. At the start of the decade, owning a computer was for geeks and accountants. By the end, it was a household necessity. We entered the era of the information superhighway. In the mid-90s, the internet was a wild west. It was ugly, slow, and text-heavy, but it was revolutionary. We had AOL Instant Messenger, chat rooms, and the very first Amazon bookstore. We didn't carry the internet in our pockets yet. We sat at desks, staring at glowing CRT monitors, waiting 5 minutes for a single image to load. This tech fever fueled the economy. The stock market became a national obsession. The dot-com bubble meant that any company with a .com in its name was suddenly worth millions. It was a gold rush, and for a while it felt like the party would never end. While Silicon Valley was building the future, American culture was getting a gritty makeover. The polished neon glam of the 80s died the moment Nirvana released Smells Like Teen Spirit in 1991. Suddenly, hair metal was out and flannel was in. Seattle became the cultural capital of the world. Grunge spoke to a generation of slackers, Generation X, who were cynical about the corporate machine. At the same time, hip-hop entered its golden age. From New York to Los Angeles, artists like Tupac Shakur, Notorious B.I.G., Nas, and Dr. Dre transformed rap from a genre into a global empire. It wasn't just music, it was fashion, language, and attitude that bled into every suburb in America. On TV, we gathered around for must-see TV. We didn't have streaming algorithms, we had Seinfeld and Friends. 76 million people tuned in to watch the Seinfeld finale. Think about that. 76 million people watching the same thing at the same time. And the movies, the 90s gave us the modern blockbuster. Jurassic Park showed us CGI dinosaurs that actually looked real. Titanic broke every box office record imaginable. It was the last era of the movie star before franchises took over. But nostalgia often filters out the grit. The 90s wasn't all peace and prosperity. It was also the decade where the 24-hour news cycle was born and it was hungry for drama. In 1992, Los Angeles erupted. The beating of Rodney King and the subsequent acquittal of the officers involved sparked riots that forced America to look in the mirror and confront the racial divide that had never really healed. Then, in 1994, the entire nation stopped to watch a white Ford Bronco drive down a highway. The O.J. Simpson trial wasn't just a court case, it was reality TV before reality TV existed. It proved that Americans were addicted to spectacle. And politically, the decade was dominated by Bill Clinton. He was the cool president who played the saxophone, presided over a booming economy, and famously claimed to feel our pain. But his presidency was marred by the Monica Lewinsky scandal, leading to only the second impeachment in U.S. history. Then, in 1999, our sense of safety was shattered. The Columbine High School massacre changed everything. It marked the end of a certain kind of innocence in American schools, and started a conversation about gun violence and bullying that we are still having today. Despite the headlines, for the average American, the 90s was a time of extreme consumerism. The mall was the town square. We were obsessed with stuff. Remember Baby Babies? People were treating stuffed animals like retirement funds, convinced that a Princess Diana bear would pay for their kids' college tuition. We had Tamagotchis that died if you forgot to feed them. We had Furby, the robot toy that swore it was learning your language but was actually just creepy. We wore starter jackets, slapped bracelets on our wrists, and drank rivers of Crystal Pepsi and Surge. It was a time of loud colors and aggressive marketing. targeted squarely at the first generation of kids who had their own televisions in their bedrooms. As the decade drew to a close, the world fixated on a singular, invisible threat: the Millennium Bug, Y2K. We were told planes would fall out of the sky and banks would collapse because computers couldn't handle the date changing to 2000. People stockpiled water and canned food. We held our breath as the clock struck midnight on December 31st, 1999. And then, nothing happened. The lights stayed on, the ATMs worked. We celebrated surviving the apocalypse that never came. Looking back, the 1990s feels like a vacation from history. It was a bridge between the analog and the digital world. A time when we were connected enough to be aware, but disconnected enough to be free. Thanks for watching. If you grew up in the 90s, let me know your favorite memory in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe.